everybody, welcome back to Crochet by Landry. I thought it would be fun today to make a gingerbread house ornament for our Christmas tree. So grab your Lily Sugar and Cream yarn, your 3.5 and 4 millimeter hook, and let's make a little gingerbread house together. Welcome back to Crochet by Landry. So I thought it'd be fun this time to do a little tutorial, kind of heading into Christmas, and make an ornament for our Christmas tree. So grab your pattern off of yarnspirations.com. I'll put the link down below so you can grab it on your own. And then we're going to use a 4 millimeter hook, yarn needle, some scissors, and the yarn we're going to be using today is a cotton yarn. It's Lily's Sugar and Cream, and the colors you're going to need are red, green, white, a brown, and then blue and orange as well. So grab your pattern, grab all your supplies, and let's start making our gingerbread house. So I got my brown and I got my size 4 millimeter hook. And we're going to start with making the roof of our gingerbread house. So what you're going to do is with color A, which is the brown, you're going to start with a slip knot. Start with a slip knot. And then what you're going to do is you're going to chain 13. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, and 13. Okay. And now what you're going to do for the first row, we're going to put 1 single crochet in the second chain from the hook. Okay, and then now what we're going to do is we're just going to put 1 stitch in each all the way down, and then you should be left with 12 stitches. So I'm going to work on that, and I'll meet you at the end, and we'll continue our roof. So now what we're going to do is we're going to start kind of making the triangle shape of the roof. So to begin the next row, you're going to chain 1, turn your work, and then in the first 2 stitches right here, you're going to do a single crochet 2 together. So you're going to put your hook in the first stitch, pull up a loop, then put your hook in the second stitch, pull up another loop. So you got 3 on your hook, and then you're going to yarn over and pull through all 3 of those loops. That's a single crochet 2 together. So you're basically turning 2 stitches into 1. And now what we're going to do is just single crochet to the end of the row. And then you'll be left with, I believe it's 11 stitches, because you went from 12 and you took 1 away. Okay, we're just gonna single crochet right to the end. Okay. Okay, there we go. So the last stitch here is kind of right here. It's kind of on a little bit of an angle, so just be careful when you're putting your hook in, that make sure you're grabbing the stitch as best you can. There we go, and that is row 2. And you can already see that it's starting to slant in, which is what we want. Now for row 3, you're going to do the same thing. You're going to chain 1. Turn your work. Now instead of doing the single crochet 2 together at this end, what you're going to do is you're going to single crochet down your row, 1 in each, and you're going to go until you've reached the last 2 stitches of this row. So just 1 in each in the first few stitches, and I want you to stop when you've got 2 stitches left. And I think I got one more. There we go. So there, I stopped when I have 2 stitches left. And now I'm going to do a single crochet 2 together. So last 2 stitches, you pull up a loop in each, so you have 3 on your hook, and then all the way yarn over, pull through 3 stitches, all through 3 loops. So what you're going to do is you're just going to repeat rows 2 and 3, and then you're going to keep going until you've got 2 stitches remaining. So once you've completed all of your rows, and you're probably going to do this about, I want to say 4 more times. So I'm going to repeat row 2. So do a single crochet 2 together. And then single crochet all the way to the end, like we've done. Okay, and then when you do row 3 as a repeat, you gotta wait till you get to the end. So all of your decreases will be on one side. And don't worry if it's not looking like a triangle yet, it will. So keep going with that, and I will meet you when we've got 2 stitches left in our roof. Okay, so I've continued until I have 2 stitches remaining. So what you wanna do for these last 2 stitches is chain 1, and then you're gonna single crochet those last 2 stitches, single crochet 2 together the last, and then you're going to chain 1 to fasten off, and then you're going to trim your tail, not too long. And then what you want to do is maybe take a minute, weave in your ends, and that's the roof. And now what we're going to do is we're going to work on the edging of the roof. So grab your white, and I'll meet back in a second. So we're going to do the edging on our roof, and we're going to start, because if you see your foundation chain right here, it's the straighter edge out of your sides. And because I'm crocheting with my right hand, I'm going to start at the bottom of that one, but I'm going to crochet across the bottom edge here where it's not exactly straight. So I'm going to find a place to join, and I'm going to try and do it in the corner here as best I can. And I'm just going to join with a slip stitch just to get started. And then what I'm going to do is you're going to put 12 slip stitches along the edge here, and doing your best to make them as evenly spaced as you can. So just find a space to put your hook in and do a slip stitch. So that's 1, that's 2, that's 3, last one in the corner here, that's 12. And then what you're going to do now is you're going to do the same thing you did on the bottom. You're going to go up the side here. So you're just going to place your hook anywhere you can and do a slip stitch. And again, you're going to do 12. So that's 1, 2, 3, that's 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, that's 10, 11, and the last one in the tip here, that's 12. So we've got 2 sides done. So let me pull a little bit more yarn. So now what we're going to do is we're going to pause, and we're going to make the loop so we can hang it on our Christmas tree. So what you're going to do is you're going to chain 14. So that's 1, 2, that's 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, okay? And then what you're going to do is just slip stitch back in where you started. So back into that same stitch you came out of. Do another slip stitch, and that's going to kind of start the last row. Now this one's your foundation chain for where you started. So you're just going to put 1 slip stitch in each of those base of your foundation chain. And you're just going to keep going until you reached where you started. Just all the way down the edge. And I'll show you what it looks like on the back side in a second. Okay, last one for me. Okay, and then you're just going to kind of slip stitch back into where you started. If you can, just do your best to kind of wiggle your hook in where it belongs. You may have to use your nail to get your hook in. Now just do a slip stitch to join and chain 1, because now we're going to do little frosting bumps on the bottom here to kind of give it some extra. So what you're going to do is you're going to skip the first slip stitch, which is right here, and you're going to go into the next one, and you're just going to go into the back loop. So in this case, the back loop is just this loop right here, which is the one farthest away from you. And what you're going to do is you're going to do 5 half double crochets in that loop. So you're going to yarn over, skip the first slip stitch, go into the back loop, pull up a loop, and yarn over all 3 and pull through all 3 loops. And you're going to do this 5 times. So that was 1, that's 2, that's 3, 4, one more, that is 5. And then what you're going to do is skip a slip stitch, which is right here, and then I want you to slip stitch into the next one after that. There you go. Okay, and then skip a slip stitch and then slip stitch into, skip a slip stitch, sorry, and then into the next one, you're going to put 5 half double crochets again. So that's, I'm going to do 1, and 2, 3, 4, one more, and 5. So then again, skip a slip stitch and go into that next one. Again, just try to wiggle your hook in. You may need to use your nail to help get your hook in. There we go. And then skip a slip stitch and go into that next one. Don't forget to yarn over, and you're going to do your last 5 half double crochets. So it's 1, 2, 3, 4, last one, and 5. Okay, and then what you're going to do, skip a slip stitch, and then you're going to slip stitch in that last one right here. Okay, there we go. Okay, and then what you're going to do is you're just going to kind of fasten off, and you're going to cut your yarn, pull your tail out. Okay, and then weave in your ends, and this is kind of what your roof should look like so far. And now what we're going to do is we're going to work on the next piece of our gingerbread house. So now we're going to do the embroidery on the roof portion of the of our gingerbread house. So what you want to do is you want to grab some of your white, and then you're going to grab a strand, a nice easy helping of each color. That way you have everything ready to go. And then we're going to start with doing like a running stitch, and we're going to go in between our rows. So I'm going to start down here, And we're just gonna go, starting down here, we're gonna come in through go in through the back. Okay, and then we're just gonna pull up our string, and we'll leave a little on the back side so we can tie a knot later. And then what you're gonna do is you're just gonna go in through the front, come out the back. Okay, and you're gonna have something like this. And then you're gonna go up a little bit, leaving a space in between your, each section. And you're just gonna go in and out through the back. Now you can do it, if you wanna do it a different way, that's fine. But this is what you should look like. Just making sure you're leaving a little bit of room, because we're gonna put French knots in between, I guess, our icing. Okay, there we go. I think I got one more. Oops. Now I have enough white here that I can do the whole roof. So I'm going to keep going on my running stitch, and I'm going to keep going until all of the inside of the roof is complete. But you're just going to keep going, and then you're going to skip a row. And then you're just going to basically do what you just did. Go all the way from one end to the other. And leaving a little bit of space in between each white strand. Doesn't have to be perfect, because it's supposed to look like frosting, however. And we all know frosting isn't perfect. There we go. Okay, and you notice because you're working on a bit of an angle that you're going to have less and less stitches as you go further along on your roof. Oopsie. Sorry about that. Oh, there's a nice knot in my... But I'm going to keep going, and then I'll meet you back when we're ready to do the French knots. All right, so I just did the white on my gingerbread house roof, and this is what it's supposed to look like. So now we're going to move on to doing the French knots. So we're going to do the French knots, and you can stagger your colors throughout your roof, so it's not all one color in one spot. So I'm going to start with my red, and I'm going to put it right here, and I'm going to go into the back, and I'm going to come out just alongside the white spot here, and I'm going to pull my tail. Okay, and then what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my yarn needle here, and I'm going to lie it across and hold it with my other thumb while taking this working yarn, and I'm going to wrap it around my yarn needle at least 2 times. Now, while holding the yarn, you're going to pull your yarn needle all the way through. And as you can see, it's going to get tighter and tighter until it kind of creates a little knot. Now, making sure that your tail on the other side doesn't come out. Kind of makes like a little knot. And then what you're going to do is you're going to go in through this side, the adjacent stitch, and pull your yarn through. So it's kind of like anchoring it into place. So that's what it kind of should look like. Now I'm going to keep working with my red, and I'm going to pick a few different spots where my red can go. I'm going to go maybe over here now. I'm going to do the same thing I just did, working out adjacent to the white, pulling this all the way through. Place my yarn needle across my work, taking the working yarn that isn't attached to my needle, wrap it twice, holding the yarn with my fingers, and I'm going to pull my yarn needle while still holding the yarn so you don't lose your knot. And then I'm going to take this, so kind of create a little knot, and then I'm going to go across and go in through this stitch here, an opposite stitch, so it looks that way, it anchors it into place and it won't come out on you. Okay, so if you wanted to do that and stagger your, like I said, stagger your colors around your roof, And use all of the other colors that you have, the blue, the green, the orange. And then once you've done that, we'll come back and we'll finish off our roof together. Okay, so once you've done all your French knots, this is kind of what your roof should look like. On the back side, you can tie all your knots off, like tie them, all your loose ends, just tie them off. And if you want, weave them in as best you can. I just kind of tied them off and tied them in double knots and then trim the ends short. But this is what your roof should look like. Now let's put this aside and we're gonna grab our hook and our brown yarn again. And we're gonna start working on the bottom of the house now. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna make a slip knot like we did with the roof. Okay, and then you're going to put it on your hook and you're gonna chain 13 to begin. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. Okay, and then what you're going to do is in the second chain from the hook, you're going to put basically 1 stitch in each stitch across. And you're going to go from 13 to 12. You should have 12 stitches by the time you've reached the end. Once you've reached the end, I'll meet you there and we will move on to row 2 together. Okay, so once you finished your first row, it should look like this. So what you're going to do now for row 2 is chain 1, turn your work, and then you're just going to put 1 stitch in each all the way across. Again, you should have 12 stitches, and you should have 12 stitches every single time you do a new row. So we're just going to be making a square at this point. So once we get to the end, again, you should have 12 stitches. Okay. Okay, that's row 2. There we go. Now what you're going to do is you're going to repeat row 2 until you've reached 8 rows in total. So that's 2 we've done so far. You're going to do this 6 more times. Once you've done 8 rows, I'll meet up with you and we will finish off our bottom of our house. Okay, so we're going to do the kind of the frosting on the bottom half of our house here. So you're going to leave this top edge with no frosting. So you're going to only do it on the 3 sides. So you're going to do it on both sides and then the bottom foundation chain where you started. Now we're going to insert our hook in the top left corner, which is the one over here. Okay. And you're just going to join with a slip stitch, and you're just going to place your hook in and you're going to slip stitch down the side and just try to space out your stitches evenly so they all kind of look the same, and just work your way down the side until you get to the last corner. That, and then in the corner. Okay, and then you're just going to work along the bottom, which is the foundation chain, which is where we started. And you're just going to go across. Okay. Just going to keep going. Take your time. There we go. On the bottom, and then you're going to, once you get to the last corner, you're going to go up the side. And again, leaving the top edge unworked. You don't need anything on that top edge. So we're going to sew the 2 pieces together, so you won't really see that top edge anyways. Okay. Only got a couple stitches left here, maybe 2, let's say. Okay, there we go. Okay, and then you're just going to fasten off, and I usually just chain 1 to fasten off. And then I'm going to cut my tail, my white aside. There we go. Okay, And that is what it should look like, leaving the top stitches unworked, because you're just going to put the top half over here like this and then stitch it together. So nobody will see it, even if you put frosting on it. Now let's put this aside. Okay, so now let's work on doing the heart that goes onto our gingerbread house. So I'm going to grab a smaller hook. The 3.5 millimeter hook is what you're going to use. So you're just going to grab your red yarn, make a slip knot, and put it on your hook. And for the heart, you're going to chain 2. So 1 and 2. And then what you're going to do is you're going to put 2 single crochets in the second chain from your hook. So 1 and 2. Okay. And then what you're going to do is chain 1, turn. You should have 2 stitches. And then what you're going to do is you're going to put 2 single crochets in the first stitch. Now this is going to be small, so just take your time. 1, 2, and then 2 single crochets in your second stitch. Oops. Trying not to split your yarn, which can be irritating, especially working with cotton. So 1 and 2. Now you should have 4 stitches. Okay, and then you're going to chain 1, turn again, and then what you're going to do is put 2 in the first stitch. So 1 and 2, and then 1 in each. So 1 in the next one, and then 1 in the next one after that, and then 2 in the last stitch, going from 4 stitches to 6. And again, if you're having trouble, just take your time, and if you have to unravel and start again, that's okay. You can always pause the video and back up. Now we're going to do the first heart bump. So what you're going to do is chain 1, turn, and then what you're going to do is you're going to single crochet in the first stitch. Okay, and then you're going to single crochet 2 together. So put your hook in the next stitch, pull up a loop, put your hook in the next one after that, pull up a loop, and then single crochet those 2 together, which means pull your hook all the way through those 3 loops. And then what you're going to do is you're going to turn, and then you're going to do 2 single crochets. So 1 and 2. Okay, and then you're going to leave the remaining stitches unworked over here. So next stitch, you're going to chain 1, or next row, sorry, and then you're going to single crochet 2 together. So which means turning those 2 stitches you just did into 1 stitch. Now, if you're having a hard time getting your hook in like I am, just take your time, wiggle it, it should get in eventually. There you go. And then pull through all 3 loops. There we go. Now what you're going to do is you're going to fasten off, cut your tail, you can just weave it in later. Okay, now what you're going to do is you're going to join with a slip stitch. I'm just going to make a slip knot here, and you're going to join with a slip stitch. So when you're putting your hook in, you're going to put it in right here. So right just at the base of the first bump that we made. Okay, and you're going to join with a slip stitch to that one. There we go. Then you're going to chain 1. Okay, And now what you're going to do is you're going to do your single crochet 2 together over the next 2 stitches. And then there is one more stitch that's unworked. But what you're going to do is just single crochet in that last stitch. There we go. Okay. And now what you're going to do is chain 1, turn your work, and single crochet 2 together with those stitches that you just did. There we go. And now you can fasten off. Okay. And now we're going to leave a little bit of a tail on this one so you can sew your heart in place. But first things first, I'm going to take a minute and I'm actually going to take a minute and actually weave in my other tails other than the one I left for sewing. Just so they're not in my way, and I'm actually going to do that with all of my pieces. I'm going to stitch in all of the loose tails that I can find. That way they're not in the way when I'm sewing, and it makes it look a little bit neater. Okay. When you're doing your projects, you want to weave in your ends and making sure that your project looks neat and tidy as best as you can. Practice makes perfect. There we go. Okay. And the only tail I'm going to have left over is the one I'm using to sew on my project. And I'm also going to take a second and stitch or weave in all of these tails here. Like this. So they're not sticking out. And even your white ones, you can just weave them in to the brown on the back. It's fine. It'll blend in as long as you're not poking it through. But grab your base, and if you haven't weaved those tails in, take a second. I need new scissors soon. Mine are getting dull. Now what you want to do is take your heart, once you've weaved in all of your tails, and you're going to sew it on to the front of your, or to the bottom half of your gingerbread house. Now the best way I'm going to sew this on is I'm just going to kind of go in through the heart and come out the back of the bottom half of the house. And I'm just going to go in through the back and come out through the heart. So that way it looks relatively neat. And I'm just going to go in through the heart and out through the house. And I'm just going to do that all the way around my heart. And I may go a few times, just to make sure it's on nice and tight, and that way it doesn't come off. And you can make these ornaments for family, friends, you know, anybody who wants a handmade ornament for their tree, or even just because, maybe to hang around their house, who knows. But with this ball, with the brown ball of yarn and all of the other balls you have to make the ornaments, you should be able to get 5 houses out of the yarn you have. So you can make a bunch, and like I said, you can give them to your family and friends as gifts, or just give them a handmade ornament just because they like handmade things. Okay, and now what I'm going to do is take my red tail, and I'm actually just going to weave it in through the back. Weave it in the back side of the ornament through some of the stitches, just to kind of secure it a bit better. There we go. Once it's sewn on, I'm going to cut the tail. And that's the bottom half of our house. And now what we're going to do, okay, and then we're going to sew, now we're going to sew the roof on to the bottom half of the house. Now, best way to do this is to flip it around so you can see the back. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to go in through the top unworked stitches of our bottom half and come out through the brown stitches on the back side of the house, on the top of the roof. And I'm just going to go in through the bottom and out through the top. And I'm just going to do that all the way across. And you can go back, depending how long your tail is, you can go across a few times, and you can go like work all the way across one side and then go all the way across the other side, depending on how you want to secure, how much you want to secure your roof to your bottom half. Oops. Trying not to tangle up your ends here. But just take your time going across, making sure it's stitched on well so they don't come apart. There we go. And maybe next week we'll do another ornament. That's what you guys want to see. Okay, and we're just gonna stitch this last one. I'm only gonna go across once because I'm just gonna hang it on our Christmas tree. Oop. Try not to lose your tail like I did. There we go. And what I'm gonna do is I'm actually gonna take a minute and I'm gonna do a knot. So what I do is I pull it through, but I don't pull the tail all the way through. I still have a little bit of a loop. And then I put my yarn needle through that and I pull tightly. So it kind of creates like a little knot on the end. And what I'm going to do now is just kind of weave my end in through some stitches. That way it doesn't get loose on me. Cut my tail. There we go. And there is our gingerbread house. And that's it for today, everybody. We made a little gingerbread house for our Christmas tree. I'm going to put mine on right now. There we go. Okay, and don't forget to subscribe, hit that like button and the notification bell, and let me know if you guys want to make another ornament next week. We can, but stay tuned for more crochet fun. Bye, everybody.